In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a web design business while still working a full-time 9-to-5 job. I did it as a single dad, and so I know that you can do it too with the steps that I'm about to show you. Are you ready? Let's go. Over 10 years ago, I was struggling to make ends meet. I was a single dad and I was living off a pastor's salary. So let's just say things were tight. But then I started a web design business and everything changed. I would go on to nearly double the income of my full-time job with that web design business and would eventually take the skills that I'd learned in that side hustle to completely change careers. And if that's something that interests you, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. So how did I do it? How did I work full-time, take care of my 3 little girls as a single dad, and also build a web design business without absolutely burning out? You know, it came down to 3 crucial things that I put into place that made all the difference. And the first was I built out a time budget. Now, you're probably familiar with a financial budget, especially if money is tight. All of the finance coaches will tell you if you want to figure out where your money is going, how to save, how to spend things on things you want to actually buy, you need to sit down and build out a budget. And that's exactly what I did with my time, because your time for the next season of your life as you're building this web design business is going to be very limited. In fact, the majority of your free time is probably going to be going towards, you guessed it. I was chatting with somebody who was thinking about building a web design business, and he just kept saying, I just don't know if I have enough time to devote to actually doing this thing. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about this. He was a single guy. It didn't seem like he had a lot going on other than his full-time job. And that's when he was like, well, you know, I need to work out for an hour and a half a day. I need to spend about 2 or 3 hours a day with my girlfriend. And then I've got about an hour that I need to spend in mindfulness and meditation practices. And I was like, okay, it's not that you don't have time. It's just that you're not willing to give up the things that you're doing. I was listening to an interview by Noah Kagan, and he was talking about how when he made the decision to start his own business, he couldn't imagine going back to his full-time job one more day. Like, he was just desperate to get out of it. And then he said this.
A lot of it comes down to the pain of their current existence isn't painful enough. They don't hate their lives enough.
He said the people who can't do that don't hate their lives enough. And that might be a little bit. Let's just say that the people who don't or can't do that don't feel discomfort enough to actually motivate themselves to give up some of the things in their life that they don't necessarily have to be doing. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's all work and no play, right? But there probably are some things in your day that you can get rid of in order to kind of build this web design business. So sit down, look at your schedule. Something that I do every once in a while is I'll just write down what I was doing every 30 minutes. I spent 30 minutes kind of getting ready, talking to people in my office. I spent 30 minutes going to the coffee machine to grab my coffee. And then I go, okay, what of my day is something that I can either trim or get rid of altogether? Can you do things like have a social life and stay healthy by working out when you're building a web design business while also working a full-time job? Absolutely. But maybe you can't, prepare for a powerlifting championship or spend weeks on and vacationing with friends and family. Like, some of that stuff is gonna have to get trimmed down. But listen, it's only going to take up most of your free time at the very beginning. I heard someone say that a rocket uses anywhere from 50 to 60% of all of its fuel just to get off the ground. Once it's lifted off, then it can use a minimal amount to keep going. The same is true for your web design business. It's going to take a lot of energy to get things going, but once you get that puppy off the ground, you're going to have systems in place, you're going to have clients reaching out. It's going to take a lot less effort to keep maintaining it. But no matter how much stuff you're cutting out of your schedule, if the process that you use to actually build websites is super inefficient, there will never be enough time in your day. So the next thing that I did to build a web design business while also working a full-time job was I made sure that I was only doing absolutely what I had to do to make my clients happy and to build great websites. I didn't have the amount of time that all of the other web designers that I was going up against had. I had to sit down and cut away all the fat in my process in order to make sure that all of the time that I was using for this business was used super wisely. And there are really kind of two ways to make your web design business a lean, mean, efficient machine. The first is you systematize things. And then the second is you cut out all unnecessary steps. So let's talk about those two things. To this day, I look at all the things that I'm doing in my full-time job and even the side hustles that I have now, and I'm asking myself, what are some things that I can make systems for? And really, to answer that question, you just need to see if there's anything that you're doing more than once. So it's not just like a one-off task that you had to do. No, it's something that you had to repeat over and over again. So for example, emailing clients. I have a Word doc that has 27 different templated email responses to clients that outline every single step of my process. So when there's an onboarding call, I've got a template for that. When there is a sitemap that I'm sending them to get approval, there's a template for that. When I'm sending them the homepage to have a peek at it, there's a template for that. Anything that I've done once and I know I'm gonna do again, I create a system. This is also where things like ChatGPT comes in real handy. I have a friend that actually created her own custom GPT to respond to inquiries. She taught it her voice, she taught it how she would respond, what she would say in different scenarios. And now she just feeds the machine the emails that she's getting from clients, and then she gets back a response that's pretty close to exactly what she would say. I asked her how much time it saved her every day, and she said at least an hour every single day, all because she created a system, she used a little bit of AI, and she is running and gunning. But the next thing that you need to do is cut out all unnecessary steps that you don't need to be taking. If it's not helpful and it's not necessary, it has to go. You probably are going to hear a lot of advice from other web designers on here who are going to tell you, do this and then this and then this and this. That's all great when you have 40 hours a week to actually do it. But if you don't have that long, you've got to ask yourself, what of those things that they've said I should do is actually super important? So for me, wireframes was one. I didn't understand building wireframes. Oftentimes, the things that I was showing clients in the wireframes would get changed over dozens of times before we got the final product and launched their website. So I cut that out altogether. Instead, I do a real simple sitemap and I do sections on the page that will be according to what type of content we're putting in those sections. It's really simple, it's really basic, and that way I'm not having to build out extra wireframes or then go in and adjust things. No, that is all finished. The other thing I don't do is I don't design in one platform and then build in another platform. I go straight from my sitemap to the platform that I'm building on. Now, there are some platforms that is a lot harder to do. Webflow is a good example of that, or really custom WordPress websites. This would be really hard to do this type of process. But I used the fact that I didn't want to have to take this extra step to determine which platform I build my websites on. So for me, that was Showit. It's just super simple. You can get in there. It feels a lot like other design platforms, and there's not a lot of custom development that you have to do. So I could easily go from a really lo-fi sitemap into a finished website. Now, doing things that way, you might have some people who will tell you, well, I don't want my website to be built on this platform. I want it to be built on this platform. But here's the thing. This is another part of making your process super efficient. If you only have 10 to 15 hours a week to build your web design business. You don't want to be bouncing around from one platform to the next as you're trying to figure out how to actually do one single thing on the web builder. If you want to do this efficiently and you want to do it in a way that you're not driving yourself crazy, pick one platform and kind of lean into that. There might be some folks who don't necessarily want to use the platform that you would prefer that they use, but a lot of clients will be fine with the platform that you recommend, especially if you can show them how it would be beneficial for them to use that platform as well. Finally, if you're going to build a web design business while also working a full-time job, you've got to find sustainable rhythms. The reality is it's probably going to take you longer than you're thinking it will. There are unexpected things that are going to happen, and you only have a certain amount of time every single week to devote to this thing. So it's okay if this thing takes longer. Just make sure that you know your limits and you know how to keep your rhythms. Maybe you can only do one project at a time. That's okay. Maybe you can only do one project per month. That's fine, right? Whatever works for you and your family is the best thing to do, even if you're not making as much money as you possibly can. The goal here is sustainability. The goal here is to keep going for a long period of time. It's like I've heard so many times before. People overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 5. But also take those big goals and work backwards and create things that you're doing every single day that will push you towards what you're going after. So instead of thinking about having to get X amount of clients every single year, think about reaching out to 3 people every single day that might be willing to work with you. Think about spending 30 minutes to an hour every single day marketing your business or learning a new skill, developing something that you might be wanting to show to a client. Create rhythms or systems that keep you moving forward. It's like James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits. People don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the levels of their systems. Hey, I hope this episode was helpful. Make sure that you like and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes coming out in the future. And don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.